Hey, what's going on, guys? Oh, we got quite a few people in here. I figured I'd get out of the way early and show you guys the puppy that I'm getting this Saturday because a bunch of people have been asking me already today, so I just posted it on here. That little puppy's name is Brody right now, but my wife and I are naming him Archie, and we're gonna go pick him up on Saturday. So I figured I'd get that out of the way now. But I wanted to see if anybody had any questions before I got started. Did you guys all enjoy your weekend? It says there's 9 people. I'm trying to see all the names. I think I finally learned who Casey31 is. I think that's Angela, but I could be wrong. I don't know who Rip is, though. Obviously, Sarah. Okay. All right, let's see here. All right, so I'm deleting the puppy now. Puppy's got to go away. All right, so let's see here. So this was the lesson that we did on Friday. We did the first 2 on here. Hold on one second. I'm getting emails, people trying to get into the Twitch. Some people have been having tech issues and they've been trying to get on and stuff, so I'm making sure that everybody's good to get in here. Twitch was like down for a whole 5-10 minutes about an hour and a half ago. All right. Anyways, so I put the 2 problems up. This is what we did on Friday last week. I know not everybody was here. I don't know if everybody actually saw my playback of this video yet, but there's a quick little picture of it, so you guys can go back, watch it, copy it down if you need to. I'm going to go down to question number 3. Question number 3 is set up just like question number 2. Okay, so it's exactly the same as question number 2. It's just different numbers. So we're going to walk through the process and we're going to find those solutions. And then number 4, I'm going to show you guys that number 4 is actually very similar to what we did with number 1. And I'll explain the difference between both of those at the end of the lesson. So it shouldn't take us too long today, seeing that we're only going through these 2 questions. So I'm going to go over to question number 3. I'm going to say that we're going to solve this one with substitution. And when we go to solve this with substitution, what we're actually going to do is we're going to try and get an x or y all by itself. And I always recommend finding the one x or y that's already kind of solo right now, which in this case would be this x down here. Since this x is all alone, I'm just going to try to get that x all by itself. And in order to do so, I'm just going to be adding this 2y over to the other side. So I'm going to have x equals, and I'm going to put the 2y at the beginning because I like putting variables first. Well, now that we did that, we now have that 2y plus 3 all alone. And I'm sorry, we got that x all alone, and we can take that 2 plus 3 and we can plug it in for the x value in the other equation. So we're just solving it with substitution. So if I plug that in, I'm going to have 2y squared minus, and just make sure anytime you substitute, you are putting it in parentheses. All right, my iPad's being annoying again. So now that we have that written out, what we want to do is we just have to make sure 2y plus 3 squared can be really rewritten as a double distribution because we have to expand it. We have to FOIL it. So this is really 2y squared minus 2y plus 3 times 2y plus 3 equals 1. Again, if you were here on Friday, this is exactly the same as question number 2, and we're just going to work our way down and factor it out to figure out what our answers are going to be. So now I have 2y squared. My iPad is really acting up today. I might have to do like a hard reset on it. 2y squared minus, now if I double distribute, so I'm not going to show all the steps for double distributing. I'm just going to write down the answers. Some of you guys prefer box method. You can do that off to the side if you need to. This is going to be 4y squared plus 6y plus 6y plus 9 is equal to 1. And technically, we're subtracting this whole thing, so I have to keep that in parentheses when we go to simplify it down. So this is really going to be 2y squared minus a 4y squared. Those 6y's are going to be added together, and we're going to have 12y plus 9 is equal to 1. And now the very last thing that we have to do with that whole thing is distribute in the negative, and then we can start combining like terms to factor. So it seems very tedious going through all these steps, but we're just going through the process. So we have 2y squared minus 4y squared minus 12y minus 9 is equal to 1. And now all I'm doing is combining like terms. So I can combine those y squareds together, and it's going to be negative 2y squared minus 12y minus 9 is equal to 1. And we got to factor this. And the tough part that you guys sometimes make mistakes with, when you guys go to factor something that has a squared, you have to make sure that it's positive. So we have to move everything off to the right side because we can't factor it if it's negative 2y squared. So I'm just going to move everything to the right side. So I'm going to add that 2y squared, I'm going to add the 12y, and I'm going to add the 9 all over to this side. So if we do that, we're going to have 2y squared still because you can't combine that with 1. We're still going to have a 12y, but then we can add that 9 and 1 together to have plus 10. And you could put the 0 wherever you want. If you want to put it at the beginning, you can put it at the beginning. I like leaving it at the end. I know a lot of you guys prefer having 0 at the end because it's easier to factor it. And now the process is just factoring it out. So we have 2y squared, 12y, and 10. Those can all be factored using GCF. We can pull a 2 out of all of those. So I'm just going to bring a 2 to the outside. I'm left with y squared plus 6y plus 5. And I'm hoping that you guys see that that is something easy to factor right now. That's something we've been doing for a long time. So I can do my 2 bubbles. Oops, hit the magnifying glass. So I have a 2 plus 5. I'm sorry, a y plus 5 and a y plus 1. I'm hoping I'm not losing anybody. And now I just have to t-chart. Technically, we could do the t-chart over here with the 2, but we're setting everything equal to 0. So this would be 2 is equal to 0. And we all know that 2 cannot equal 0, so that's gone. And that means our 2 solutions are going to be y is equal to negative 5 and y is equal to negative 1. You just have to make sure to remember we also had x's in this problem. Well, we already said what x was equal to. We did that right here. So all I'm going to do is just rewrite that portion. X equals, we said it's 2 times y. Well, we know that first one is going to be negative 5. So I'm just going to plug negative 5 in for 1. And I'm also going to plug in negative 1 for that y. Oh, I put down plus 1. It's supposed to be plus 3. That was my bad. And now if you simplify those out, that will give you your 2 x values, and then we'll know the 2 coordinates at which these ones cross. So as you guys can see, there is a lot of math that goes into these problems. And the reason why is because one of them is not a linear equation. So when you have a mixture of one being linear and one not being linear, there's a lot of steps involved. Let's see here. It looks like I'm going to have x is equal to -7 on the left, and x is going to be equal to 1 on the right. So you're going to have two answers. The first one is going to be -7, -5, because we have to write it as a coordinate. The second one is going to be 1, -1. So I'll pause for a second. I'll give you guys a bit of time to check it and make sure that you guys feel comfortable with that. If you don't feel comfortable, don't be afraid to ask. That's why I like doing these live lessons. You guys can just type the message and I can go back to any spot that you're confused with. If you don't want to, if you're somebody that doesn't have an account and you have a question, don't be afraid to email either. Okay, so I see a few new people in the chat right now. We just did question number 3, and I'm about to do question number 4 from the lesson that we did on Friday. So this is lesson number 3. All right, so if there's no questions then, so I'm just going to jump down to the last one, and I'm not going to do the last one with substitution. And the reason why I'm not going to do it with substitution is there's a much easier way for that one. The only time we want to do substitution is if your exponents are different in the two equations. So if I come back to the first page, so if you were here yet for Friday's notes, you guys are going to know what's going on. If not, just kind of pay attention and we'll get you caught up. But if you look at number 1, you guys will notice that the x's were the same and the y's were the same. If your variables are exactly the same, you can just use the process of elimination to solve the problem. You'll notice for number 1, there was not a lot of work here because they were already the same types of equations. They were both linear. When you go down to question number 2, you're going to notice that these x's and y's, or these x's and these y's, have different exponents. They're not the same. One was linear, one was not linear. When you have a mixture, that is where all the work comes in. That's when you have to go through the process and you have to substitute in. Same thing with what we just did here. The first one was nonlinear. The second one was linear. When you get to the fourth problem, what you guys should notice is, again, they're not linear problems. However, your variables are the same. So anytime the variables are already the same, you can solve it by just doing elimination. So for this one, we're going to eliminate just like we did on the first problem on Friday. In order to eliminate, you have to cancel out one of the variables. So you either have to cancel out the x squareds or the y squareds. Now, my suggestion is to cancel out the y squareds in this one, because if you look at the second equation, it's already -2y squared. So that means all we have to do is make the top one a +2y squared. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to multiply the top equation by 2. The bottom equation can just stay the same. So I'm going to write, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write it underneath. So I'm going to have a 2x squared plus a 2y squared is equal to 50. Now we can solve it using elimination by just adding straight down. So 3x squared plus 2x squared is going to be 5x squared. The y's are going to cancel out. And then we have 80. Well, now we just have to solve for x. So I have to divide both sides by 5. If you were to do 80 divided by 5, I believe that's going to be, was that 16? 5 goes into 8 once. Yeah, it'll be 16. So we'll have x squared is equal to 16. And in order to get rid of a squared, we just have to make sure that we square root both sides. The part that you cannot forget, anytime you square root, there are 2 solutions. So a lot of you guys are going to tell me, hey, Sadler, square root of 16 is 4. But anytime you square root, there really is a positive answer and a negative answer. So if you follow my math meme Instagram page, you should have seen last week I posted one on there. It had a picture of like Yoda from Star Wars. Yeah, it was exactly this question. So, I mean, not the same numbers, but it was the same thing. Just make sure anytime you square root, 2 solutions. Okay? The only other thing is you got to make sure that you find the y's. So we only found the x's. So there's 2 x's. Positive 4 and x equals negative 4. So you just have to make sure you plug them both into whichever equation you think is easier. I'm going to use the first equation. So I'm going to say 4 squared plus y squared is equal to 25. And what you guys should notice is even if you plug in the second answer of negative 4 squared into that equation, it should still give you the same answer because 4 squared and negative 4 squared is both going to be positive 16. So that will be 16 over there, and that will be 16 over here. So overall, the work actually only has to be done once. And if I subtract the 16 over, I'm going to have a 9. Same thing is going to happen on this other side. And y is going to be equal to plus or minus 3 because you are square rooting both sides. There's actually many, many answers to this question. And I'm going to show you guys why. So I am going to show the workout over here on the right, even though it's exactly the same. And the reason why I'm going to show it out is to show you guys how you can write down all of your coordinate answers. So this will be 9. Y is going to be equal to plus or minus 3 again. So this one, x was equal to a positive 4. This one, x is equal to a negative 4. So when I go to write down all my answers, and some of you guys may get this right away, some of you guys may be a little lost with what I'm about to do, but technically, on this left side of that pink line that I just did, there are 2 answers. The first coordinate is going to be 4, 3. And my second answer is going to be 4, negative 3. And that's because there's 2 y answers for that one x answer. If I go to the right side of the line, my x was negative 4, and I got an answer of positive 3. But I also had an answer of negative 4, negative 3. So there are actually 4 separate answers to this problem, and the reason why is because both of those equations were nonlinears. They all had squareds in them. So remember, if you have an x squared, that's 2 answers. If you have a y squared, that's 2 answers. So that's why there's 4 possible solutions for this equation or system of equations. Okay? So that is all I got for today. Some of you guys may have already gotten a jump start on the homework. I don't know if I put it in Shobi yet, but it's going to be a due date of, I think I'm putting it in tomorrow for 9 p.m. So you guys have to, I mean, obviously I've been telling you guys, get it to me when you can get it to me. But the quarter ends on April 8th. I got to open up my calendar. April 8th is when the quarter ends. So you got to try to make sure that you're getting me all the grades or all your assignments in. If you see any zeros in the book, you can still make those up. You just got to shoot me an email and then I'll forward you anything that you're missing. If you are absent for some reason and you don't have a grade, again, make sure you contact me so we are good to go. All right. If there is no questions, just let me know. I'll help you guys out if you do have them. If not, I hope you guys have an awesome, I was going to say awful evening. That would just be mean to say. I hope you guys have an awesome evening. And office hours tomorrow, 1 o'clock. If you guys got questions on that homework, I'll be here. Or just show up because I normally chill anyways. All right. Have a good one, guys. Miss you all. And I'll talk to you soon then.